Hello and welcome to another TRC Shave and Chat. I'm Drew, aka the Whisker Assassin. Thanks for joining me. Today we are going to feature the Full Measure of Man. This is a soap by Barrister and Mann. Now I've got a sample size here, but over at therazorcompany.com you can pick up a full-size tub of the soap as well as the matching aftershave splash and an aftershave balm. This is really great stuff. When I smell it, I just think of luxury. A little bit of leather, but a lot of tobacco, a little bit of vanilla, kind of powdery. You know, when you think about like a guy sitting in some sort of a library or an office with a big wingback, leather back chair, smoking a pipe, that's really what I smell. It's very rich, a little bit sweet. But this really is a great scent, and of course it performs really well because it's Barrister and Mann. They make some amazing, amazing soaps. I've already done my pre-shave, and I just used a unscented glycerin bar. You really want to make sure to wash your face before you shave. It gets a lot of that dirt and oil and whatnot off of your face. If you've ever read the back of a shampoo bottle, it says lather, rinse, and repeat. And if you actually do that, you notice that the second time that you lather, it lathers much better. It's because it's not fighting all of that oil and dirt that builds in our hair. And of course, the same builds on our face. So you always want to make sure to use a pre-shave. It's as simple as washing your face. And again, I like the unscented bar because then that doesn't disrupt the smell of your soap or the aftershave you're using. As far as my razor today, I am using a 3-piece Gillette Tech vintage razor. Now this has no date code on the bottom, so I've read that basically it was produced between 1946 and 1950. This is a ball end, and it's also very mild razor, very efficient, but very mild. And so because of that, I'm pairing this with a feather blade, which is of course one of the most sharp blades out there. I believe this is my third use of this feather blade, but I really like this razor. I picked this one up secondhand, but very affordable. You can find them for less than $15 in many cases. So really enjoy this razor. I've had it quite a while. It does quite well. For my aftershave, well, excuse me, let me go to my brush quickly. I'm going to be using an Omega synthetic brush. Very affordable. You can also pick up many Omega brushes in Boar and also in synthetic at therazorcompany.com. And this is a very affordable brush, but it still performs very, very well. I've had this brush quite a while as well. So to finish things off, I will be using for my aftershave splash Sweet Rum by Clubman. And this complements the kind of sweeter notes that I get from Barrister and Mann, the Full Measure of Man. Of course, it's a sweet rum, obviously, but the rum plays well with that kind of tobacco, the kind of vanilla, the powder, the richness of that soap goes very well with this aftershave. So really looking forward to that. Since this is a sample, I'll be scooping some out, putting it down into a shave bowl. So let's go ahead and switch camera angles, and you can watch the lather in my shave bowl. So you can see I've got a little bit of that soap pressed down into the bottom of my shave bowl. I'll go ahead and take my brush and I'll splash just a tiny bit of water in there. I really want to make sure that I don't overwater. You can always add more water to your soap as you bowl lather, but of course you can't remove any water. And it'll start off with some kind of bigger suds, and as we continue to work it in the bowl, we'll see those larger suds starting to break down. I've already got the aroma, like I mentioned, a very rich aroma starting to build within my bathroom here. Just great stuff. I am going to add another splash of water. To get that really nice, creamy consistency that I like. For an inexpensive brush, I have to say this Omega synthetic brush does amazing. It really does. Press it down from the sides there. I think that'll work. Let's go ahead and move back up to the face. Welcome back. I'm just giving this kind of a quick stir one more time in my bowl before I start putting it on my face. And I really like bowl lathering because it gives you that opportunity to build a really good lather. And then by putting it on your face, you have a couple of options. You can kind of just paint it on like this, or you can really push that brush in and you can spread it out. And that's what I like to do because it really gets that scent going. Like I mentioned, this is a fairly new release from Barrister and Mann, and I absolutely love the scent. Very rich, luxurious. It does have a little bit of sweet, a little bit of a powder scent, but it's still very manly. That tobacco really shines through. To me, it kind of smells a little bit like cherries, or even a little bit like raisins. I've never tried the Aftershave Splash or Balm. I'm sure they would complement it very well. And I'm sure that anyone you encounter would definitely notice that scent and possibly compliment you on it. So there you go. There's that Omega brush. This razor, I'd like to know the backstory. Like I said, I picked it up secondhand, so I don't know a lot about it. I'm very particular when it comes to feather blades, and they work well with some razors for me and some not. With this one, it works great. I find a mild razor paired with this really sharp blade does an excellent job. Now I've got like 2 days growth here, and it's getting quite a bit of that growth on this first pass. The second pass, I'll kind of do sideways, not fully against the grain, but sideways, and that should take care of the rest. This razor is a 3-piece, and with vintage razors you always want to check and make sure there's no cracks where the handle screws in on the post there to the head of the razor, and this one fortunately has no cracks, but you have to make sure not to over tighten. I do know a lot of these older razors do have a little bit of crack, and you can still get away with it. It still performs even if it's got that crack. It's mostly just kind of a cosmetic thing. Hope everyone's doing okay. We've now entered the dog days of summer. It is quite warm out there, and you know, mosquitoes are bad. It's a challenge, but I'll take that over winter any day. I'd rather be hot than cold. I feel like I can deal with heat better. Give me some shade, something cool to drink, and I'll survive. Loading up for the second pass. Getting a nice foam built up here. A lot of backbone with this brush. A lot of synthetics tend to be kind of floppy. This one is not the case. The loft is very high off of the handle here, but it still has plenty of backbone. It reminds me of a boar brush when they're relatively new. I know with boar and badger you kind of have to break them in a bit. Not so much the case with synthetic, but I've had this for quite a while now, almost a year, and it still maintains that really strong backbone. I will say this scent is maybe geared a little bit more towards colder months. I know with it being summer right now, lots of soap makers are coming out with their fresh summer scents. But it's never too early to start looking ahead to fall into winter. And even though this is the middle of summer, I still think this works great. But it definitely has more of a spicy almost scent. It reminds me more of an evening shave than, say, a morning shave. That's the tobacco scent. That's the kind of vanilla. Almost get very mild, almost like raisins, like cherries. But not harsh at all. I typically only do 2 passes, and I think with this feather blade, if I were to attempt a 3rd pass, I don't really know if I would be shaving anything. If you've ever used a feather blade, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to watch nicks. They can be, at least on my skin, prone to nicking. Looks like I even do have a little bit of a spot right here. It's a little bit of blood. Doesn't hurt at all. There we go, yeah. Use my towel here and wash off. Still have a few uses left in that sample. But as things do start to cool down a bit, I may find myself picking up a full tub of the Full Measure of Man. I'll give this aftershave just a little bit of a shake. I like to put my finger over the reducer. And rub this on. This is a rum-based aftershave, but the sweetness of it really comes out, especially after about 5 minutes of drying out. I've said before, this aftershave, I almost get a little bit of a cannabis scent even, and but that fades very quickly after it dries out. And I know a lot of guys, this does come in a plastic bottle. I know a lot of people like to put it in a glass bottle and kind of let it sit in a glass bottle for a few days. I've done that before. To me, it doesn't change the scent profile much at all. Really great aftershave though. Wonderful soap. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We look forward to seeing you again soon.